Thanks for coming. I'm here today to provide clear, practical guidance for people travelling to the UK. There have been some recent changes for requirements to travel to the UK, and I know these changes have been met with questions, so I want to provide clear and practical guidance. From the 25th of February 2026, people travelling to the UK will need a visa, an electronic travel authority, also known as an ETA, or a valid UK passport. What documentation they need depends on their nationality and the purpose of their visit. For New Zealand nationals going to the UK for a visit, they will need an electronic travel authorisation. This can be applied for online. However, the UK's ETA system only applies to non-British nationals. If you have held or currently hold British citizenship, including if you are a dual national, you cannot use an ETA to enter the UK. You must travel on a British passport or another passport with a certificate of entitlement. These changes are part of the UK's move to a more secure digital border, which many other countries such as Australia and Canada have already introduced. These changes apply even for short visits. For those who are dual UK nationals, immigration law means that if you're a citizen, even a dual one, you're entitled to enter the UK, and therefore you do not need and cannot use an ETA. If people are unsure about whether they have British citizenship, this is something you can check online at gov.uk/check British citizenship. Our message is simple. Check your documents early and apply well ahead to avoid travel disruption. Further guidance is available on gov.uk, and we'll continue to share information on the UK and New Zealand website and social media channels. Thank you, and I'm happy to take some questions.
So for people who don't know about this change before February 25th, when they travel to the airport and they're trying to get into the UK, what happens for them?
So like with all international travel, it's up to airlines to make sure that people have the right documentation to travel. So people will need to have the right documentation to travel, and that's why I'm here today to help raise awareness so people know that they need to check their documents and apply early.
Can you go into a bit more detail about why this change is happening? There's been a lot of comments from people about how this has increased costs for them and that they have no idea it's happening. Can you go into more detail about why this is happening?
So a more streamlined and digital immigration system will be more secure and quicker for millions of people who pass through the UK border each year. The introduction of electronic travel authorisations for travellers who are not British citizens or do not require a visa gives greater power to stop those people who pose a threat from setting foot in the UK, and it gives the UK a fuller picture of immigration. This is in line with an approach that many other countries have taken to border security.
Is it a revenue gathering exercise at all?
So this is about introducing a more streamlined digital immigration system.
Picking up on the point about dual UK New Zealand citizens, if you're the child of a UK citizen and you don't have a UK passport, perhaps your mother or father was born in the UK, but you don't have a passport and never have, can you go to the UK on a New Zealand passport?
So all British citizens must travel on UK passports. So if that child is a British citizen, they cannot use an ETA and they will need a British passport. Again, if someone's unsure of their status, they can check this online.
Well, does that apply for people born before 1983? If they did not apply, are they still automatically UK citizens, and under what circumstances?
So everyone's circumstances will be different. Their nationality will depend on where they were born and where their parents were born. So we encourage everybody to check online at gov.uk/check if I'm British.
Okay. What are the citizenship rules for those born after 1983 and before 2006? If they did not apply for citizenship, are they still automatically UK citizens? And does it depend on where they were born? Does it depend on whether a parent is British? Does it make a difference if any of them had previously had the UK passport?
So everyone's individual circumstances will be different depending on their parents' nationality and where they were born. So for clarity, we encourage everyone to check their personal circumstances and their personal status on gov.uk/check British citizenship.
Can they check that way whether their parents had applied for citizenship on their behalf previously? Like what if they don't know whether their parents applied for citizenship on their behalf?
So the best thing to do is to check online.
So how will this be enforced? For example, if you have a New Zealand passport with an ETA, who will actually know whether you have citizenship? Who would actually stop people from travelling?
So airlines have always had a duty to ensure that people have the correct documentation before they travel, and there are border checks at the airport. So I would encourage everyone to check their documents, make sure that they're appropriate, and to travel with the correct documentation.
Does the UK government believe that it's done enough to get the communication out there about this change? There's been a lot of commentary that people have no idea this change is coming.
So we have been putting out information about this since October 2024. The deadline for this change coming into effect is February 25th, and that's why I'm here today to get the story out and make sure that people know that they need to check their documentation and apply early.
But how is that information put out? Because people are saying they haven't seen it on social media.
So that information has been on social media, it's been on the .gov.uk website. We've also engaged with travel operators to make sure that they're aware of that change. No, that's not information that I have to hand.
What's going to happen after February 25th? Somebody gets to the border and doesn't realise that they have to.
So like with all travel internationally, it's important that documentation is checked before people get on the plane. So we encourage people to make sure before they travel, they've checked their status and that they have the right documentation.
What if they don't? They just don't know if they haven't had any notion. They say that they're a New Zealand citizen and they didn't know that somewhere down the track they had British ancestry and that they are entitled to citizenship.
So that's why we encourage everyone to check their status and check their travel documents, and why we're getting out the news now that people need to make sure that they check their status.
Is that a personal responsibility or is it a general responsibility? Or does the British government have any responsibility?
So as with all international travel, it's essential that people travel with the right documentation to enable them to enter into whichever country they're traveling to. Airlines will check that information because they also have a duty to check it, but people must make sure they travel with the right documentation.
Do you have any idea of the demand that this has created on people applying for passports?
So we're aware that people are hearing the message that they need to apply for passports and are applying, and I would encourage people to apply early and make sure they leave enough time for that.
Do you have any idea of the numbers of people that have applied to regain this passport?
I don't think it's broken down by motivation as to why people are applying for passports, so we wouldn't have a way to tell whether it was a first passport or because of this new change.
What do you have to say to people who are frustrated about having to go get a British passport and they probably wouldn't have to do it otherwise?
So I do understand that travelling can be very stressful and making arrangements for travel can be difficult, and so I am sorry that people are finding these changes difficult, but it is important that people travel with the right documentation all the time, and that's why we're getting the message out now that people need to check their status and apply early.
Has the UK government been in touch with the New Zealand government about these changes?
Yes, we have been in touch with the New Zealand government and we have informed them in advance of these changes.
When were those discussions had?
I don't have precise details, but we've had those discussions a number of times. So every application will be distinct and will have different circumstances, so I'm not able to give precise timings, but I do encourage people to apply early to give enough time for that documentation to be processed.
But does the documentation have to go over to the UK?
I'm not going to talk through those processes because they'll be different for everybody, so do check online and see what the requirements are.
People can't apply for a British passport here, or do they have to send you get documentation overseas?
The process is done online, so people need to check online and see what the process is. Great. Thanks very much.